I hope so.
You're live.
In the sky.
I love that song.
Everybody, we are Hopportunity Investors.
I gotta do this.
Everyone, it is our final show of 2020, and just happy to be here. We just crossed over 3 years recently, and now we're almost heading into a new year, which I think everybody is going to be super excited about getting the hell out of 2020. Pretty tough year. Some great things happened, but a lot of really tough things as well. So, yeah, guys, we are excited. Opportunity Investors. If you've never been here before, we are all about talking about investment strategies, financing options, the implementation of those in Hampton Roads and beyond. We bring in industry experts and professionals to talk about relevant ideas, and then we discuss those over some tasty, cold, preferably craft beverages. Bloop, bloop. And formerly, we would meet at a craft brewery spot like a Commonwealth Brewery or Smart Mouth Brewery or something cool like that. People would be all around and we'd be talking. And now we don't do that because you can't. But it's still cool. And networking is a big part of this group. We want to figure out how to continue to network amidst everything, because having the right people around you is crucial in success in real estate. So before I go any further, as we do, let's raise our glasses up for a quick toast. May your castle be secure and your cup overflowing. Ding, bing. Guys, this is cool. We've been talking about Airbnb a lot. Mr. Shawn is in a tree fort. He likes to call it a tree house. I go to tree fort up in Maine, right? Did you book it through Airbnb?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Cam is in a normal house. Not as exciting. So, we decided to kind of finish off the year. It's been such a crazy year. There's been so much going on up and down. The idea is really to come here, open it up for Q&A, but also just kind of talk about what happened in 2020, what we see projected in 2021, and just act like we know what we're talking about and throw out these like projections to what's going to be happening in the future. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about real estate investing, and we're going to talk about the market, what we've kind of seen, because it really has been crazy. And I think it's been different for everybody. And then what we expect to see. There's been a lot of changes since just last month when we met up. I mean, the election itself could create totally different results in our real estate world. And so this will be really fun. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about kind of what people are seeing right now. And we're going to start with Cam, man. Cam, why don't you share with us kind of what you're seeing, in your world right now, and kind of I don't know if we're going to go into projections quite yet, but let's talk about 2020, how you guys adjusted and kind of where we're at now.
So yeah, so happy to be here, man. 2020 started off with a great boom, right? We were ready, we were rocking. Business was awesome. We were growing. I closed on my first rental property at the beginning of 2020. Had plans. Yeah, super stoked about that. It's still doing well. Thanks. Had plans as we moved through 2020 to close on another one. And then COVID hit. And man, everything, stopped. Everything slowed. Everybody was concerned about what was going on. But I'll tell you, mainly on the wholesaling side of the business, we saw business go up like crazy. And we were kind of surprised by it. I mean, we were ready for it anyways, because we're a virtual company anyways. So everything stopping and people staying home, we were like, okay, we're already here. So cool. You know what I mean? and we saw business go up. And I would say, I think Shawn would agree with me as the restrictions started being lifted and more things started being opened, it slowed a little bit. It's kind of surprising the way that worked. And personally, try to close on another rental, and things happen. Things happen as they do in real estate, and the deal kind of went sideways. Unfortunately, we weren't able to close it. But now, even now, as we go into Thanksgiving, closing out the year strong, got quite a few good deals in the pipeline. And so it was a crazy ride to me from my perspective, because this pandemic happened. Nobody in the world knew what was going to go on. Everybody was certain it would affect the real estate market with evictions and mortgages and foreclosures. You know what I mean? And we saw business go up and more opportunities come our way. So looking forward to 2021, man. Lots of things are going to change. Yeah, I wouldn't say we're going to projections quite yet, but I see some things changing in 2021 for sure. But that's how I would recap 2020.
Nice, Cam. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Mr. Shawn, would you like to give your side of the story?
Come on, Will.
All right. Well, if I can keep connected with you guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be back in here and talking. Looking forward to hopefully getting back to doing these things, in person again. But yeah, speaking to Cam, us as a company, we had a big shift. A lot of our marketing comes from courthouses and having to data mine stuff that relies on those workers to be in the courthouse and doing the work, and it almost came to damn near a halt, right? So we had to take a lot of data and shift it over to another platform or another funnel, right? So it forced us almost to make us do something different, which actually got us better, right? So we're actually able to crunch more data. We're actually able to get a better response. We're actually able to get through more data, right? Am I on delay?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is, as we move to next year, Full Circle is going to get back into pretty heavy on the rehab side. And we're also going to stay with our wholesale side, and we'll still take down deals, right? We're looking for partners to JV with that we can take the money that we have and do some fix and flips. And of course, if we can take some things down, we'll do that too. We'll look and see what that looks like. But yeah, that's what we're going into with next year. We're going to take this ride and cruise with it. Do a little bit more rehabbing, way more detailed. Everybody knows me as the KPI and numbers guy. So we're going to be way more defined in those numbers this round. And yeah, we're sourcing the deals. We're going to fund the deals and take them down or JV with people. So yeah, I'm actually pumped for next year. I hate to say this, but it's like if they shut it down, we're probably going to do better again. I hate to say that because that's a bad thing for the economy, but for us, the way our business model is set up, like Cam said, people were very fearful, right? They were very uncertain about what was going to go on. And even though the market is still really hot, low inventory, when the deals do come out, like they're gone, they're fast, doesn't matter if they're retail or off market. I mean, we got guys overpaying on stuff and it's going pretty quick. Right number, right price, it's gone, right? There's no question about that. So, I mean, no contingencies, no inspections, like they're getting out there fast, day of, if not next day, looking at the properties, and then, hey, we're submitting the offer. So yeah, this year was great. It was really good. We definitely had 1 or 2 months that, was slowed up for whatever reasons on title, but that's normal real estate game. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to next year.
Nice, man. Yeah, no, I think we're all in the same boat. We all happen to be in the real estate world, so we're kind of looking at it from the real estate perspective. For me, very similar. I kind of hit, was it March when everything kind of was like up in the air, and I was expecting to have a good year. Kind of been building my business up to have a good year, and that being said, I kind of want to hit on that. So Hopportunity, I think, is a great place for real estate investing. But what it's also been for me is a great place for kind of just sharpening my entrepreneurial mind. A lot of people that come to this group kind of have that mindset. And so we kind of feed off each other a lot. One of the things that Shawn actually helped me with was really pushing me to get a virtual assistant.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, man. And so that was one of the best moves I made, I guess 2 years ago, was trying to do a virtual assistant.
Year?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years. Had a virtual assistant from the Philippines, and then I found Vanessa, who is somebody I knew, but just not living at location. And that was able to help me kind of grow my business. So that going into 2020 was a huge game changer because I was ahead. Whereas if I tried to do that in 2020, I wouldn't have been able to keep up with the capacity of, what was there. So that being said, I think it was important for me because the year just ended up blowing up. I mean, it was crazy. So I focused my business on retail. In the past year, I still do a lot of house hacking. I do a lot of different investment stuff, but I've been able to I've got Dan McDuff on my team, who's been on this podcast a couple of times, and Dan has been able to help me out with a lot of military clients, a lot of house hacking, a lot of investors, and so that's been really cool. But a lot of my retail stuff is just taken off, man. So retail right now is nuts. Inventory is low. Prices are rising. I don't see that changing right away. So really, that's going to be the focus of a lot of my business. And I told you guys personally, last year I was kind of like, all right, my interest is in building my business right now. I don't see that changing for the next 6 months as far as where I'm putting my energy and my resources. I do want to definitely buy a property. I tried to buy some properties in 2020. It just didn't work out, as you guys know, and you just never know. I had a couple subject to deals that I was working on pretty hard that just didn't pan out. But I got some more things in the cooker, and I assume I'll be definitely buying some stuff in the near future. But as far as sales, man, I think the real estate market, like for me in 2020, it was great. It was just exploding. I think one of the things that I wanted to point out for this group, because we talk about a lot, is house hacking. So the model of house hacking was always duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Well, what was crazy is, I don't know what happened, but everybody started hearing about this awesome idea. It's a really great idea. So the duplex, triplex, and fourplex market in Hampton Roads is freaking insane right now. So properties that I was like, looking at last year were literally like $100,000 more, which is insane to me. And people are still buying them, So what I've seen a lot on the house hacking side is I've had clients buy single family homes, do renovations, and turn them into rental properties and get similar returns, but it's just a different model. So people in general are getting creative. Just like you said, your business model is getting creative. I've had to get creative with my clients to say, look, let's see what else is out there. Let's not just do a multi-family search. Let's do a single family search and see if we can get similar numbers that we were shooting for at the beginning. So yeah, man, had to get creative. Did a ton on the retail side. I see that going on some more. And as far as like super quick projection, as far as what my business is going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a lot on the retail side. I think a lot of people are going to be selling their properties. I think there's so little inventory. I just started getting this whole influx of people that are starting to sell because they're realizing, holy guacamole, our equity just went up like crazy. And I agree with them. I don't think it's going to last forever. So, if you're going to sell, why don't wait and chance that? Like, you should probably sell sooner than later. So I think 2021 is going to be a strong year for real estate, man. It's going to be a strong year for me, strong year for my clients, especially people who are trying to sell. I think it's a great time. And then freaking interest rates, man. We'll get into all that I don't want to kill all the future conversation.
How
But
many people do we have watching? Because I can't see on here. Do we have anybody that's in the group or here now watching these lives that have any questions and can write some comments that we can try to help you guys with? Some things that you're seeing, some things that you might have questions on. What kind of partners are looking to
here we
JV
go.
with contractors? What kind of partners are looking to JV with contractors and money people? Yes, if that question is to me, because it says Facebook user, we're looking to partner with experienced people and unexperienced, but mostly experienced people. So yes, if you're a contractor, you got experience doing the job, yes, we're interested in talking with you.
I think that question answers itself too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
completely.
Contractors and money people are interested in working with each other.
Totally. Totally.
That's a good combo, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. I like it. We're trying to do a little bit more of that, actually, to find contractors to work with, to make them part of the deal so that, they're part of the project to make more of the money instead of what I think is the normal, right? The investor and the contractor beating heads, trying to beat them down on price, all that stuff. I'm trying to find contractors to work with so they can be part of the pie, right? Do more deals, make more money, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're looking to do for sure. So yeah, I agree. It says Facebook user. I'm not sure who you are, but yeah, for sure. Reach out to us and let us know.
And I'd say for me, Shawn's a great example of this. Contractors have really done a good job of turning into flippers and turning into investors in real estate because they've got an asset that most people don't have. So if you're a contractor and you're looking to get in the game, talking to a guy like Shawn or talking to,
Cam,
finding a joint venture partner is could be a crucial way to really grow your business fast for sure.
Yeah, so we got one here. Jad
Oh.
says, I would like to JV with wholesalers and do deals. Let's do it, man. Reach out to us. Send us a PM. Get up with me. Get up with Cam. Get up with Alex. You know what I mean? Like, this whole group all works together, right? So anybody that's watching this as a live or a replay, this whole group you see on here, and anytime this comes on, we're all a team. We all work together. So reach out to any of us, and we'll definitely work with you guys.
And if one of us doesn't do something, we're going to send it to the next guy who does. I mean,
there you go. There you go. Chad says he'll put up all the money. Right on, man. We'll find a deal and put the contractor in play, and you fund it. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it, man. And I think what's cool is he's
Alex
talking
will
about.
Sell it.
Let's do this. Yeah, I think what's cool though is so he's in a further market up north. There's a lot less deals available. So if we're able to create deals here in Hampton Roads, there really are a lot of investors in other markets that could come down and benefit. And one thing I noticed, I didn't hit on this because it was a crazy ass year. We had a lot of people move down from New York City. I had several clients that basically moved out of, the city to come to the suburbs. And I think that is going to be a trend that is going to continue. And market share is going to be similar. So there's, a lot of people who have money in those markets, they're going to start coming down to markets like ours that are maybe that second tier.
Yep. I agree. Totally. We've got a few guys that have been sitting on the sidelines forever and even coming back to us now, like they've gotten their money back and they don't want it back. Let's put it back to work, Shawn. Like, go. You know what I mean? $2, $3, $5 million. And I keep getting the same story. I don't want it. I just want the return. I want the return. Like, all right, cool. So I think there's a lot of opportunity on the creativity side coming down the pike. Those are, I'm speaking to the words forbearance versus deferment. And I think that's a big thing that's about to raise its head here shortly, where I think there's a lot of things there that a lot of people can be part of, whether it be a funding side, whether it build portfolio side. I see that being the next, what's coming down the pike to build generational and almost use in between and fix and flip and get out of it, like super quick, but you're helping two sides of it. You got a seller that doesn't sell for retail because they need some money to fix it up to get to that higher retail. I think that's an opportunity for sure. So that's what I feel like if somebody wants to get into and pay attention to, those are the things that you're going to hear, right? I mean, we've already got a few in the pipe right now that we're talking to. Hey, I'm in forbearance. I don't have the $5,000 to get me out of it. Well, if you're in forbearance, that means you're in default, right? So if you're in default, you got to come up with the $5,000 or else you lose the home. Versus deferment, paperwork was written. It's written to the back end of the loan. You know, I don't think a lot of this was explained very clearly. Some people took it very lightly, and now it's like, whoa, my mortgage statement says I owe $5,000. That's not what they told me on the phone, right? So that's kind of what I think is a piece of, I guess you could call it generational wealth coming down the pipe.
I think that's a cool. Well, I shouldn't say that's a bad thing, but I think that's something that we should kind of maybe jab on real quick is the fact that we all know that there are potential foreclosures. How much of an effect do we think it's going to have on our market? I've been reading all different kinds of stuff on it. So I'm curious what you guys think. You guys are on kind of the front lines. I'm kind of usually on the back lines. I see it after it's foreclosed. Your guys' goal is to catch it before it closes, which is interesting. So do you see like a major foreclosure, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, but a major foreclosure problem, or do you see it as something that's kind of, you know, something that'll come up, but it will also get passed pretty quickly?
I don't think it'll get passed. I think you're going to get an issue that will raise its head, right? And those people that are creative and understand how it works and how to help both parties to make out on it. One, get somebody out of not going into foreclosure. Two, somebody that can come in, put some money into it, and then turn around and sell the deal. I think that both parties can make out right there. That's what I think is what it looks like, right? Like, I'm not a crystal ball. I can't tell you what shit's really going to happen, right? But I feel like that's one of those things we're already seeing. And Cam can back me up here. He's on the acquisition side for our team, but you're seeing these people be like, I'm in forbearance. They're like, cool, what's your mortgage statement? You know, let's take it over. And we'll come in and take over your payments. You're like, oh, I'm only like $3,000 behind, but they said that my payments are paused and then I'll, you know, pick back up in 3 months. That wasn't clearly defined, right? They don't understand it. So, yeah, I think that's the big piece that's coming. And I don't think it's going to, I mean, there's 12 million mortgages in default currently. So, like, take that over all of it and see what happens with that. If you go back
that's
to
insane.
If you go back to go ahead, Cam.
I would say the major ones that we're seeing right now in the forbearance arena are the investment properties, right? So each lender kind of had it at their own discretion whether they were going to allow, you know, some forbearance, some delay of payments, if you will, right? But all that money's still owed, like Shawn's saying. We have started having the discussions with, you know, actual homeowners, but most of the ones we're talking to right now are absentee owners. They're landlords, right? But either their tenants in there, the ones that come to mind right now that we're dealing with, their tenants were in there for 6+ months throughout this whole pandemic and were not paying. They were trashing the place. And so there was no income coming in. And unfortunately for these landlords, that was their only source of paying the mortgage, right? And they were barely breaking even. That's why, anyways, won't go on a whole soapbox about making sure your numbers are right and you're prepared for something like this, right? So those are the ones that we're primarily seeing right now in forbearance are the landlords. And
yeah,
I've seen 3 to 4, I don't know much past 4 months where the lenders, and again, it's by each lender, but the lenders people talking to, they're not going past 120 days. So all those landlords are coming up to a time they either they got to pay up or foreclosure's coming.
I think what's interesting is kind of like this little meld of people that people have forgotten about. So we're really trying to take care of the renters because they're in a tough spot, which I totally understand. I mean, it's a tough spot. The people who live in their houses, we're pretty much taken care of because, you know, we don't want another 2008. We don't want people getting kicked out of their houses. Yeah. But what we're seeing kind of left behind is the people who own rental properties. So it's something interesting, especially on this show where we're literally talking to people about investing in real estate. You know, it's something worth noting. One thing that we are on this broadcast is we try to be real. So, what happened is, because we do property management at Coastal Group, what's crazy is you think, okay, we'll march to where are we at now? We're in freaking November. So
Yeah, right.
what people don't realize is come December, come Thanksgiving, they stop evicting people. So the judges will stop evicting people in November. And then they don't really start until, maybe a month or so after Christmas, once people start getting tax money. So if you didn't evict somebody in February or really in February, all of a sudden you started back up in March and you can't evict them. And now, so there's a lot of people who are out from November of 2019 until now. Like, that is an insane thing to think about. So there's going to be a lot of people who are not getting rent through those amounts of time. It's just been really hard to evict people. And it sounds bad. It sounds heartless to evict somebody. But if somebody's not making a payment on rent, that means somebody is unable to make a payment on a mortgage. So it's not, mean-hearted. It's just the reality is at some point somebody's going to have to get paid. Otherwise, something bad's going to happen to whoever that ends up being. But the reality is, I think the thing that people don't see is that all those people that were in that, what about all those people that were in that November 2019 category? They are getting their asses kicked right now. And how are they going to make it all the way out of that? Unless you have, a paid off property, it's going to be very difficult. So, I think there is going to be a foreclosure property. I don't think it's going to be like they thought at the beginning, where it's like everybody's foreclosing. And I'll get back to that. But I do think that the first ones to go are those rental properties that people just weren't prepared for it. And like, I've got rental properties and my guys are paying and they're awesome and I appreciate it. But there's certain people who can't. So, it's just a tough spot for everybody. I do think that'll be a problem. What I don't think, a lot of people like in 2008, I think what I was looking up before we did this particular meeting was, how does this compare to 2008? And maybe I'll have you guys chime in on that. But I do think it is different for the investment property owner, especially like maybe a slumlord, and then somebody who lives in that property. I think the banks are going to be more lenient towards somebody who lives in the property right now. So just things to take note of as we go into 2021. And I do think that's going to affect y'all's business. I think it's going to affect my business. It's going to affect the flip business. It'll affect the inventory that's available out there, which will affect how much prices are rising up, all that stuff. It's also interesting to me just how everything kind of, eventually hits itself, hits everything else off. It's like the domino effect. I guess my question is, have we really seen what the domino effect is doing? I don't know if either of you guys want to jump in on that. Have we really seen the results of all the actions that have taken place in the last 12 months?
I think one of the big things everybody needs to pay attention to that's trying to be on the investor side, I get we're talking about tenants and we're talking about evictions. Big banks are big banks. And when they decide to drop the hammer, it don't matter, right? So whether there's a tenant in the property, whether you as the owner or the investor that didn't have the money to catch it up, if you're out, you're out, right? And I'm strictly being to like business and stepping away from, having a heart and being personal. It's strictly going to be business for the banks. And over 12 million defaulted mortgages, the bank will go when it's time to go and it's over, right? So like when foreclosure starts taking a windfall again and it starts raising its head, or somebody maybe catches up one or two payments, but they're still far behind, that's the stuff that's going to matter. And that's where I feel like if you're ahead of that curve and you're able to understand the strategies and the tactics to get creative and, you know, work with the person, how can we work with you to keep you out of this foreclosure? How can we keep you from, you know, you're not going to keep the property, but how can we keep you from going into foreclosure, wrecking your credit, having these problems that could prolong even longer to catch back up after this issue that nobody was ready for, right? Like, I get all that. Nobody's was ready for the pandemic, and you gotta pivot to where the problems are. So what I'm saying is like, when the banks decide to drop the hammer, game over. And if you're not ready, and if you're not there, and you're not creative to understand how to make those situations work out and help the situation or help those parties, I don't see where it matters about anything about the evictions, because as soon as the banks open up the doors to say, hey, we're allowed to start doing foreclosures, it's over. It doesn't matter about families, and like all that personal stuff goes out the window and it's gone. Like, it's money. And I think that's the part that you have to step back and look at, to where, how do you fix it? And I think that's where the creativity side comes in for those guys that are trying to really try to help people. You know what I mean? Like, truly try to help people. Vanessa wrote, all it takes is one big bank to cut through the red tape and start bulk foreclosures. All the other banks will follow. Hell yeah, for sure.
There's the
and then
dominant.
it will be, you know, like 2008, just kind of like reversed, because it was still default, right? It was just like who was getting ready to do it before the next one caught it, because they were selling all the bullshit loans, you know what I mean? So it's kind of the same concept, but a little bit twisted. But I know, you know, the main words I'm hearing, and this is just recently in the past like month or two, the main words we're hearing is, I'm not in foreclosure, I'm in forbearance. And if you look at it from the bank's eyes, you're in pre-foreclosure, right? You're 90 days defaulted. And the note and the loan says it too. Your paperwork, it says you owe, well, the loan we looked at the other day was you owe 5302. And they were like, I don't know how that's true, because they told me I was paused for 3 months and I didn't have to start again until, you know, 3 months later.
Yeah.
Like, right, but you got to play catch up and you don't have the money. And like, we all recognize it, but it doesn't matter. Like, here's what they unfortunately maybe dupe the public on. And that's where I think it's going to go. And I think this is the time where, especially this group is really good with having people in it that are creative, that are honest, truthful, like truly trying to help people. I'm not trying to screw people over, because I see a lot of that already starting to go down the road, but truly trying to help people. And hey, look, how can we help you get out of this? Really try to help you, and maybe help you make a little bit of money. But if you can't, at least keep you out of that, you know, foreclosure world. And now you're talking about credit issues and all the other stuff. So that's where I think this group is going to help a lot of people, to what we do, what you do, like all that kind of stuff, to be able to help the guys that want to put money in play. You know, hey, you got 5, 10, let's just call it $10,000 to $30,000 you want to put to work. What does that look like? Can you do a small fix up on a home, get it up to the higher retail value, and then it's on your side, right? Now it pops off and it sells. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I see what's coming, if we're talking about like crystal ball world.
Yeah. Nah, we're in crystal ball world for sure, man. You know, I think one of the things that I keep, you know, just because this whole year we've been like 2008. I think one of the things that I've been doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of research is, in comparison to 2008, is on a positive note. And what I'm seeing on the sales side is people have some equity, right? So there's a lot of people that are in a position where, instead of getting foreclosed on, sell your freaking house. Like, move out before you get foreclosed on. So, you know, I think something I'd like to say is, if you're in forbearance, if you don't know a way out, start talking to people now, because you can find a way, whether it's someone like Shawn or someone like me selling your house, or just, hey, let's talk to somebody who can help me figure out how to make these payments. But start looking into it now, because what happens is it piles up and then it becomes too big to do anything with. So if you can do it early and you can get ahead of it, you really can do something. But as compared to 2008, some of the things I was reading is there's more equity out there in our market than there was. So we've kind of had a natural
Totally agree.
progression where I feel like our market is actually pretty healthy. It's not super artificial like it was in '08. We've taken a very, very, very long time to get back to where we are. And it was kind of a painful increase over the years. So I think it's a healthier market than what it was. I think underwriting is way better with financing. People that can't afford homes or shouldn't be in homes, for the most part, are not. There's none of this like no doc loan stuff. There's probably some no doc loan, but usually it's based on something better than what it was back then, where it was like literally, oh, you make $1 million? Cool. Let's get you $1 million home. And be like, did you have any idea what he's actually making? So it's definitely, I mean, if you've bought a house in the last couple of years, that is intense as hell for the most part. There's definitely you hear about some things happening where it's a little shadier, but for the most part, it's pretty hard to get a loan. So I think it's a little bit harder to get a loan. I think there's more equity out there. Do I think we're going to have some kind of drop off at some point? Absolutely. I think it's inevitable. We've been talking about it on Hopportunity for years. Like, we're at the top of the curve. I think, and this is what I've been telling all my clients is, really I said 2020 you should sell. Now 2021 is still crushing it, but I wouldn't wait, man. I would not trust to wait to 2022. I mean, what do you guys think about that? If you were going to sell your house, would you wait another full year, another 12 months to list that thing, or would you guys sell now?
With the way the market's moving, no, I'd be all over it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd sell. My game is, well, most people know here my game is buy and hold, sell paper, and then hold paper. But yeah, I mean, if I had actually we were talking about my personal home, we were going to sell it. And then we were like, there's nothing really out there, even that we can go on the back market and try to find it. Like, we'll just hold on to it. Because, I mean, it did. The equity that we saw our neighborhood go through the roof, and it was just like an extra 30 grand. We're like, why not? And they were like, why not?
Yeah, you got to find something better.
Yeah. That's the other side of the coin. You sell it, you make your money, but what do you do? And what I was going to do is just like sell it and hold tight and rent somewhere. And like, I'd rent something next to the beach for like the next 2-3 years. Just hold tight.
I've had a couple clients do it, man. I've had a couple clients sell their places and rent. You got to be committed to do that.
Totally. But I mean, I feel like it's got to be a windfall of capital to come from that sale to deal with what comes with that. Like, okay, I'm going to sell the home, find something else I'm either going to totally redo, or I'm just going to hold tight, lay low for like 3 or 4 years, rent out, like it'd be almost the same as your mortgage, right? I hate to say this, but like most mortgages, or most everybody knows mortgages are front loaded. So most of your interest on the front end. So like everybody's like, oh, you're pissing away to rent. You're like, you're pissing away to interest. You're not really touching the principal too much. So.
You're not touching the principal for a while.
Yeah. So
yeah.
No, I mean, I enjoy yourself.
I think there's something there with renting it. I'm talking to my parents right now about doing the same thing. Sell your place. We're at a hot market. Rent for a couple of years and find a place you want to be. I mean, several clients have started to do that. I think it's a great model. If you find something, awesome. If you don't, there's nothing, a lot of real estate agents are going to say it's always better to buy than to rent. I don't necessarily agree with that. That probably doesn't help out my sales strategy, but it's true.
Great sales pitch, Alex.
Yeah, but it's true though. If you can't find something that makes sense, then rent until you do. The key is if you can be creative and you can take advantage of that sale. I just know people that have made $100,000 and they're holding on to it until they find the right place and they hop into it, and then it's like, where else are you going to make $100,000? There's not many other places you can just cash out like that, and especially if it's the house you live in, then you don't have capital gains. So it's different than Shawn going and flipping a property and making $100,000. It's a totally different number. So, it's worth looking at and saying, well, if I sell now, rent for a little bit, then it's something to think about. I'm not saying it's for everybody. It's not for me. I ain't going anywhere right now. I'm going to buy investment properties. Cam knows. Cam, you got kids, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, man. You got kids, you're like, I ain't moving unless you kick my ass out of here.
Retired military guy, moved way too many times. I ain't fucking moving. It's not happening.
Dumb, son.
Nope. Hey, we just had a question pop in too that kind of relates to this. It says, what changes to real estate investing do you see as permanent because of the pandemic? And the thing that comes to mind for me, for sure, is I think the whole world has changed because of the pandemic. And I think that real estate will be no different. Everything has moved virtually, right? And you've seen businesses fail. You've seen businesses go under because they can't pivot to that virtual setting. And you've seen people adapt, right? Even I was talking with my teenager today, and she's in high school, and she was hating this virtual learning. She said today, I really gotten used to this. I really don't think I want to go back to school. Like, I'm good with it. And I'm like, yes. Now you see what I'm saying. And a few other guys today in different industries, right? And they pivoted to virtual settings, some military, some private. And they're like, I don't understand why I spent all this time away from my house and meetings and doing all these things. And right. So if anything, I know that it's changed the world. So it's changed real estate as well. And companies that are virtual and real estate agents and market properties looking to work out of a virtual setting and accommodate customers, clients, whatever you want to call them, to fit their comfort need, right, with a pandemic or with anything, it's changed the world, man. And that's for sure how it's changed the real estate industry, is those that can pivot, those that can stay in a virtual world and work with clients or customers, you're going to succeed, where the others that want to have a brick and mortar institution, I don't see it's going to be near as necessary as it was before. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I got some commercial friends that have already talked about that hit in some of the strip mall worlds, where they had these small businesses renting space. You move over to like the places that we've been using it for a while, the co-working spaces, right? They were ahead of the curve by having these spaces to get more people in with smaller spaces, smaller numbers. It was allowing that instead of this big one lump sum. You got to have an office with 5 or 6 people sitting in it, showing up every single day, like heavy salaries, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've seen the big shift in that in the commercial world already, especially in the smaller strip mall stuff. So it's really interesting. And what's funny is those guys are actually shifting to a different type of model. So there's some I wouldn't say big box stores, but like they're called anchors in the commercial world, where they're actually turning some of those into self-storage units. And that was their shift, right? Like the only way they could cover their bill or keep their building or the note and play and actually make money was to allow somebody to come in and completely take that shell or turn it from a shell into a self-storage unit. And they were vertical with it, So I've seen that over probably the past at least 3 months. And I've got some really decent friends inside of local here, but also other guys talking about, other markets. But yeah, I see that for sure. The brick and mortar is going away, right? And people are forcing, you said you had to stay home, right? But yet your company still had to operate. And then you had to see results, right? And all of a sudden you're like, hey, why do we have this office? Shit's still getting done,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you, Cam. I think it was cool that we were able to, even us as a virtual company, we still had to shift or pivot in a different way, but in a marketing way. But as far as a company and operating, we've always been virtual as far as a company. And we still meet up every 2 weeks, right? We meet up every 2 weeks and have our business development meetings and get together and chit chat and still have that camaraderie and, get together and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, you don't nearly have to have what most people I think thought they had to have in these, 10,000, 14,000 square foot spaces. I agree, Cam. I think you hit it right on the head, man. And a lot of the commercial guys I'm seeing.
Force people to comment and act like they're working. I do think it's going to change, man.
Yeah.
It already has changed. I don't think it definitely has changed. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the virtual world is shifting kind of everything right now. And I think from an investment standpoint, we should just kind of keep an eye on that. I don't know what the move is, what the play is on that, because the commercial space is a long-term kind of expensive place. But I do think there's going to be some room for some creative models in there. I don't know if they're in effect yet. I wonder, I haven't done a lot of research lately into what do they call it, where you've got the multiple businesses in that one unit, like where you guys rent out that space in Norfolk. What's that called?
Co-working.
Yeah, I wonder how the co-working space is doing right now. Like, is that taking off, or is that, kind of just plateauing? Because it's like, well, in one case, it's like, well, I don't have to have a full business office, but in the other case, it's like, now I'm cross-contaminating with a bunch of random people. So it's kind of a weird, like, is it good or is it bad? I don't know right now. I don't know how well that's doing, because it's kind of an odd spot. Is all commercial down, or is it just some?
Well, I think if you look at it from Gather standpoint, they're looking at it as though I don't need to have this massive overhead to rent a space, versus I can rent a small little office or cubicle space that's mine. I've got a desk, I've got a little space. It costs me $400 a month. Versus if I go down the road to a 800, 900 square foot unit, I got to pay $1,000, $1,200. So for the people that have families, right, or the guys that, like, I don't, because I don't have kids, but I have to get out of my house. I cannot stay at home. Like, and this is talking to the people lately where the kids are having to be back at homeschool, or like this kind of stuff where you cannot do work because of what's at home, right? So it's a lower end, and you don't have to have this full on brick and mortar, electric, water, big space, rent box, like all that kind of stuff. So from my understanding and talking to the different places, you've got Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Cam, I think they're on your side of the water for a unit. And then they got one up in Richmond. I mean, they're all over the place. Their growth, even, I want to say not during pandemic, but after pandemic, their growth was 17%. No problem at all.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So, I mean, that model actually works. And I think they saw that a long time ago for the idea of like, hey, how do we get, it's like, hey, you want to make $1 million a year? You gotta get
they were ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing their model.
That last location in Virginia Beach was opened during the pandemic. And I'm sure it was planned and in progress way before the pandemic, but it's doing well. And, as we walk the halls of the one that we visit in Norfolk often, those offices are packed, man. The people are in there. I mean, they're doing their safe thing, but most of them are glassed in cubicles, so they're all separated and they have their office space. And like Shawn says, $400 or whatever it is versus $1,000. You can't beat that. The overhead that most companies were paying is just ridiculous, and they don't need it.
Yeah.
What I wonder is going to affect the future, and this might be further off, is it going to be based on your Wi-Fi connection? Is it going to be based on the ability to really, like, hey, Shawn's treehouse that he's in right now has some crappy Wi-Fi. Well, I'm going to buy a treehouse in the other part of Maine that has really good Wi-Fi so I can run my business out of my freaking treehouse. Is that going to be like, Ready Player One? Is that going to be like a top priority on how you pick your real estate, man? It might. I mean, I think we're moving there faster than we thought, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's the company that allows you to roll around like let's say in an RV, right? Because I know the people that are doing this and they're really successful. So they've got these hotspot units that are, powered by so much to make it a good connection. And maybe they get close to a better tower and they know where these towers are on the map. So they go drive to their locations and they're just enjoying traveling the world. You know what I mean? But their job is literally virtual. They don't have to be in a stuck location. So they're living their life. They're able to travel, right? And all the work's being done because it's just next to a tower that has the highest signal. So yeah, I mean, like you could be out here in the middle of the sticks like where I'm at, and you figure out what you need to get there and what your signals are and all this stuff that's online to see. And that's what these guys are doing, So now you're talking about like technology and like that kind of stuff, which I totally agree. That's a whole nother discussion, but yeah.
But I think that's what our heads have to be there, man.
Totally agree.
I think that's where it's going to be, because what I've seen, and I think this is kind of one of the things when I started this, as far as Hopportunity, as far as being beneficial to me is, okay, I started thinking about a virtual assistant back in 2017, probably. We started talking about it in 2018, put it into play in 2019. Business was growing and was able to grow in 2020. So I'm able to capture business. So really, and like you're talking about these commercial businesses that are doing these shared spaces. They were in effect now a couple of years ago. They've been able to start growth. Then we get hit with something like this. Now they're probably going to be able to expand massively. I think the key is to be very successful is to be a little bit ahead of the curve, not too much where you completely missed it, but to be like, if you can be the guy that's hitting full stride when that next pivot happens, you're going to crush it, and we always talk about positioning yourself on this. And I think that's where I'm getting at is, how do I position myself? I want to be in full stride when that next change happens. We're in that change right now, but we're getting a really fast-paced look into the future. And so
we'll talk
I guess
to
all
the side of that for a hot second.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? That for a second. What about the iBuying Homes apps, right? What about what they're doing to what you would consider the realtor? I wouldn't say market, but think about what those guys are doing, and they haven't finished it yet. But Zillow came back in years ago and was like, "Yeah, we're just doing this and we're doing that, right?"
Oh yeah.
Right.
And now they're out buying up stuff.
Right.
You know what's so we're lucky to be in a military market. So we're dealing with people all the time who are buying satellite, basically. So people are buying without seeing properties, and we see it done. Now they're usually trusting in somebody. I still am on this relationship. Now maybe it's because my business model is based on that.
Totally agree.
Is on the relationship. So people are saying, Alex, I can't be there, but I trust you. Let me know what's going on. And that's a lot of pressure. But are people buying without Alex on the other end of it? They are. I don't necessarily recommend it because it is such a crazy big purchase, and it is kind of scary. And you can literally, like, if you're like us, you've seen pictures of houses and then walked in there and been like, "Oh Lord, what am I looking at?" So it is very dangerous. I'm very skeptical when my clients have not seen a house yet. But are we moving in that direction? Yes. Have you bought a house without seeing it, Shawn?
No.
No, I haven't either.
Actually,
you have, Cam?
I'll say that. I see pictures of it, but
pictures don't count, man.
People walking through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cam said he's bought a house without ever been in it. He's in your Air Force, right?
Yeah, this one. So I bought this one from Germany. So where I'm sitting in Virginia, right? I bought this in Germany. Never saw it. Didn't see it until the last walkthrough the day before closing. However, of course, I had a family member in the local area and a real estate agent that I vetted very well, right? And he was a fellow veteran, and we're still friends to this day. who walk this property and, on FaceTime. So there was some adaptations that were made, right, to where we spent like 45 minutes in the house on FaceTime, right? Back up. Wait, let me see that corner. Wait, what's going on there? How big is that room, right? So all the stuff that you would do when you'd see a house. So yeah, and this is where we still live 3 years later, but yeah, never set a foot in it until the day before closing.
Yeah. And here's the reason I bring this up. You're talking about millions of dollars being invested into an app from companies that have way more data than us, right? So because I'm so data driven and not only just surface looking, but look at the data and see what it says. Why do you have these companies that are investing all this money to turn into the Zillow, to turn into the, Open Door? Like pick any of the 2, 3 that have come up lately, and they haven't even done they don't have an IPO, right? They're just a small company, but millions of dollars that are being invested to show that this is a model that will work. They don't do that haphazardly, right? They are collecting and building KPIs to show why it will work. So my question is when you see what most of the retail, brokerages, like they're all moving to the model of like, hey, bring a person in, get a piece of their fee. Bring a person in, get a piece of their fee, right? That's always how it's always been. But more and more, that model keeps going that direction. Well, how long is it before that's obsolete? It turns into a problem. And I agree with you, Alex. It's about relationships, right? It is about knowing your person. Like Cam just said it. I vetted this guy. I knew who he was. Like I took the time, like all this kind of stuff. I'm just saying, you're talking about like being ahead of the curve. That's one of those things that has been on the back of my mind for a long time watching.
Yeah, man.
Little companies popping up.
Zillow is spending insane money right now, and they're buying all kinds of stuff up. They said they weren't going to compete with real estate agents, and they basically created a business to go buy and sell without real estate agents. So they're all putting their money in that direction. I totally agree. Maybe I'm old school, but man, I just walked into too many properties. I've walked into too many properties to say, if I could have completely screwed myself on this property if I hadn't had a human being walk through it. Absolutely. Now, if you are Zillow and you can lose, $100 million and still be all right because you're going to make $200 million, that's one thing. But if you're, average Joe and that one house is your one asset you're going to own, then to me, it's just too dangerous. So I think that's the thing is I'm always kind of, let's take care of people. I mean, that's just who I am by nature. Maybe you're not going to make a lot of money on it, or maybe I'm not going to make a lot of money on it, but I want to make sure that you're not going to end up in a place you don't want to regret. A computer module doesn't care about that. They're going to say, this is what I see, this is what the stats are, and this is what's there. They're not going to see who the next door neighbor is. They're not going to see the craftsmanship of the work that's been done in the house. They're not going to see, so I do think it's going to go in that direction. I think there's always going to be a place for good agents. I think eventually there's going to be a lot less agents, and agents are probably going to be asked to do more on the real estate side of things as opposed to just be buddy and run people around. It's going to be more like, all right, show me your worth. But I do think there's always going to be a place for them. And I do think there's going to be a space for this automated real estate business. But if I would, I just don't see that as something I'd ever recommend to somebody to, hey, you don't need to go in that house. Like, if you ever get an opportunity to go into a damn house, go into that house before you buy it. Now, you might not have that opportunity. You might need to send somebody else in. But just getting human eyes, it's just a different view, man. It's different than a camera lens. I'm in the business of retail sales. We can make a house look damn good. And some people will make a house look way too good. I'm kind of in the middle where like I want someone to go in the house and be like, okay, that's kind of what I was expecting, as opposed to, damn, the pictures look so much better than it does in reality. But we all know you can fake the crap out of a crummy house and make it look good. At some point, you're expecting someone to walk through it and see it and hear the floor crack and feel the rotted floor underneath you and and see the termite damage.
The flooded crawl space.
Exactly.
All right,
guess what? The
like
crawl space, man. Zillow's got to figure out the crawl space in Virginia before they do anything.
We're right at that hour. We got a few questions to try to get back here and answer. I think Vanessa's got in here. What new things do you or will you be implementing in 2021 for your businesses? And then I think there was some other questions a minute ago too that we were trying to go back and reference. I'm trying to see them on here. Somebody was asking about, do we deal with single family homes or multifamily homes as well? And go back to the JVs. What about partnering with money person? They didn't elaborate. So maybe it's like, I can't see all the message. So I'm not sure what it says. What about partnering with the money person? Can you go to whoever's clicking that for me? Click the next, what it says. I wasn't reading that.
Yeah, no, the other part was my comment about how whoever didn't elaborate. So I think what they're asking, and I don't know, is how does that work if you're partnering with a money person? Are they getting an interest rate or like a specific interest rate? Or are they getting a portion of the deal? Are you putting money down? Just like the quick and easy, so that we can get through a couple of questions.
Yeah, I think for our side of that, it's obviously going to be deal related, but majority of the time it should be based on a loan to value and a percentage on the money. It depends on what the deal looks like, right? Everybody wants to make more money, but what amount of work goes into it? So that's a piece of this. So I would think in the beginning for us, it's going to be a percentage on the money. And then we can talk about that over time if it's a percentage on the profit or not. I would rather it be a percentage on the money. How involved are they? That kind of stuff. So that's something to try to stay inside of the SEC guidelines. You can't talk about it over hey, we're going to promise you this interest rate. We're going to promise you this guarantee, because we're not playing by the rules. But to be as frank as I can, I think interest first, based on loan to value, and a first deed position, a first deed to trust position would be how that's structured. What was the other question?
Are we wholesaling mostly single family homes or multifamily as well? And I can take that because we have a couple on our plate right now that are multifamily. So we're wholesaling multifamily as well as taking them down for buy and holds or financing the notes out as well. So yeah, multifamily as well.
Well, let's be careful on the multifamily. Whoever's asking that question, we haven't dealt with anything above 10 units. So be very specific on what's considered multifamily. We have not dealt with anything over 10 units. I don't know that space. I'm learning it, but I would not even begin to say I want to jump into that, knowing what we know now in the single family world. That's going to take to grow. So anything under 10 units would be what we would deal with.
Yep.
What was the next one? Oh, about businesses.
Final question.
Here we go.
And what are we drinking?
Final countdown.
So talk about what the new things you do with, or what will do in implementing to 2021 for your businesses. I think I'll just recap what we said before, kind of like Cam said. We are going to focus a lot more on the channels, or I would say the funnels that we're doing our campaigns, our marketing on, to get more out. We will be moving to other markets in a virtual setting because we've gotten better at that locally. So we will be able to turn that into a virtual. Then we will definitely focus more on the fix and flips to a lower fix and flip, meaning like under 300,000, maybe 30, 40 grand in rehab if that home's built after 1940. So for us, that's our model. We want to JV people or JV with people that we have money, other money partners that want to work with us, that we're going to do that model with. That's what we are going to do as Full Circle Investment Group. And hopefully internally our guys can build their portfolio, because that's what we do in-house. So
Cam Newton.
Yeah, mine would piggyback off of that to be to hopefully, you know what I mean, grow some portfolio in 2021 without recapping what Shawn just said, because that's what we're going to do within the company. But to realize some opportunities personally for the company to grow each one of the employees. Yep.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, for me, man, I think I hit on house hacking. I think we're going to move a lot towards, instead of doing 2 to 4 units for some of these guys house hacking, I think we're going to do a lot more single families this year. Try to hit some, detached garages and that kind of thing, and get creative. Find some short-term rental options. I think that's going to be something that's going to be growing. I think Airbnb model is going to be growing in the near future. I think hotels have kind of lost a little bit of the share of the business, and it's not coming back. So I think short-term rentals is going up. So a lot of my investor clientele is looking in that range. House hacking is going to be moving towards single family, house hopping, that kind of thing. And then I think the retail side, I'm going to really focus a lot of my business on people selling their homes. A lot of people that were on the fence, I wouldn't stay on the fence for forever. And that's really what I'm going to be pushing in 2021 is, if you're thinking about it, do it now. I don't trust what's in the future. And if I was going to sell the next 5 years, I would sell in 2021. So a lot of my business is going to be built around those factors. As far as investing, and Shawn, maybe you can hit up on this as well. I think Cam kind of hit on this. As far as investing, me personally, I want to invest, and I want to create a lot of business in Ocean View. I think that is a market that Norfolk has finally gotten behind. They're putting money there. I think it's going to be the best rapid growth in Hampton Roads, and I want to get a part of that. So I want to be a part of that. I want my clients to get a part of that. And so that's probably where my investing efforts are going to be, in Ocean View. And then I think a lot of my clientele is looking over there as well because of those short-term options.
Yeah, I agree. The windfall is coming. It's literally in your face. Like, we're starting to see it already, and I'm looking forward to, after the holidays going away, to what is already.
I tell you what, dude, I'm probably going to start a division to work on the foreclosure side of things too. I guess I kind of should mention that. And I'm sure you guys are doing this. There's going to be a huge amount, even if it's not as bad as we think it is. There's going to be a large amount of foreclosures, which should open up a lot for a lot of people. Hopefully, it sounds bad because I don't want anybody to get foreclosed on. But, if anybody's watching this,
man.
reach out to people before you get foreclosed on. If there's any advice pre-foreclosure, reach out to people that know about real estate and talk to them before you get foreclosed on. Because really, there might be some avenues for you to take so you don't, lose it all. But as far as from an investment standpoint, the reality is, I think we're all hitting on it. It's going to be there. There's going to be foreclosures. And if you're going to position yourself, I think if you're in a position to take advantage of those foreclosures, then you're probably going to be in a good position.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up. Guys, everybody that's been here watching, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. Hopefully all this talk was helpful for you. Hopefully the signal wasn't too bad in my tree fort while I was out of town. But if you guys need anything from us, please reach out to us on a PM. You can check us out at info@fullcircleinvestment.com. If you're in the wholesaling space, please check us out at wholesalingoutofthebox.com. We do local events and we do online events. If you are on here and you're looking to put some money to work, we're looking to talk with those guys and see how we can help you. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Alex and Cam. I appreciate it. Oh yeah, what were we drinking tonight? I forgot. I told you guys I was going to share mine. I had a Bright Side IPA out of Portland, Maine. So it's a local yokel.
Nice.
Alex, what do you got?
I've got Legend Brown Ale, back to one of my faves, local.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Cam, what'd you have?
Star Hill. Local favorite. I can't get away from that.
Dave Matthews, man.
Whole state. Yep.
Hey guys, want to do one last shout out. Me and Mr. Daniel McDuff are going to be talking about house hacking next Tuesday. If you got any interest in it, if you know somebody who could benefit from it, it's an incredible way to start building a portfolio in real estate with minimal risk, minimal cash. So jump in on that. But that is house hacking next Tuesday night, 8:00. We'll make a post on Hopportunity to let you guys know when that is. Oh yeah, my name's Alex Winfield. I don't even think I said my name. I'm a real estate agent. What's up? How you guys doing? Guys, thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. This was cool. Glad Shawn could join us from the treehouse. And Cam, always glad to have you. This is Hopportunity Investors, and Shawn's got his finger up, so he's got something to say.
I want to say thank you, because you never have the ladies come up here, and Vanessa and Ashley always making sure that we look like we can put this shit together, and we never can. So I want to thank them for, ladies, y'all come on here for a hot second, because we always ask what you're drinking.
You know what? We need to thank our wives too, actually, because our wives are awesome.
I wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't my wife getting my shit to work.
And Shawn was totally not able to figure it out until his wife jumped on and hooked him up. So, we're blessed.
Ashley, what are you drinking? Vanessa, what are you drinking?
Vanessa's not on here. She was just commenting, helping the flow on that side. But okay. I am drinking a Pinot Noir. It was just kind of so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just drink this.
Nice. Okay.
Nice. Fancy pantsy.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I always want to thank the ladies for helping us do this. They do so much to get these shows up and running for us, and making sure that all this stuff works the way
absolutely
it should. So thank you, ladies, for doing that and always helping us get this stuff going. Guys, thank you for being here. Everybody watching the replay and you guys here. Looking forward to seeing you guys again in person. And as always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us.